This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Welcome to Late Boomers, our podcast guide to creating your third act with style, power, and impact. Hi, I'm Cathy Worthington.
And I'm Mary Elkins. Join us as we bring you conversations with successful entrepreneurs, entertainers, and people with vision who are making a difference in the world.
Everyone has a story, and we'll take you along for the ride on each interview, recounting the journey our guests have taken to get where they are, inspiring you to create your own path to success. Let's get started. Hello, I'm Cathy Worthington. Welcome to an empowering episode of Late Boomers with our guest Ramona Galey, award-winning author of the book From Lonely to Fearless and founder of the Alignment Circle.
And I'm Mary Elkins. We're looking forward to hearing Ramona's story and her advice for boomers and also for the younger crowd. Welcome to Late Boomers, Ramona.
Thank you so much, Mary and Cathy. I'm really glad to be here. I'm looking forward to our chat.
We are too. Thank you for being here.
Ramona, tell us about your journey and how you discovered a transformative path to self-acceptance, alignment, and enlightenment.
Ooh,
A lot of big words.
A lot of big words and a pretty long path too, but I'll start with the most recent leg of it, shall we say, which was about 10 years ago. My life partner, Betty, we'd been together for 24 years, the love of my life, my only reason for existence. She passed away. She died in my arms from pancreatic cancer. And boy, that cut me off at the knees. I was ready to follow her, frankly, trigger alert or whatever. But about a week later, my friend Madge that had come down to stay with me, she left that morning, and I was planning, I was actually beginning to write my suicide note, and the phone rang, and it was Betty's best friend, Lordella. And Lordella started talking, "Oh, I just heard about Betty. I'm so sorry. That's awful." And I was crying, and I didn't tell her what my plans were, but I was probably talking about these rings that I was very upset about that we had lost. And I was feeling really guilty and just silly, low vibration feelings. And she said, "You got to stop thinking like that right now." And I said, "Well, yeah, Lordella, I'm 55 years old. I've been trying to control my thoughts my whole life with no success." And she said, "Well, have you ever heard of Abraham Hicks?" I said, "No." I still laugh about this. I said, "Is that a disease?" Like Braxton Hicks or something.
Oh,
So she said,
right.
No, it's a spiritual teacher. And, I follow them. And, it's the funniest thing because Lordella had just lost her husband a couple of years before. And I watched her go through that and come out the other end. And I remember thinking, boy, I just could never survive the way she was thriving. Obviously she was upset and everything, but she just had such grace. And I wanted some of that. And so she was probably the only person on the whole planet I would have listened to that day, but I listened. And we talked for about an hour that first day, and she told me some books to go and get. She sent me a bunch of CDs that she had in her closet that she had never given away. And I just took to it like a duck to water. I just took off running. I was very skeptical at first, except for the fact that Lordella endorsed it, because I had always been very linear thinker before that, very science-minded, very fact-oriented, very numbers-oriented. And so anyway, I could tell by the end of that first month that I was feeling so much better, and felt like I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I gave myself a year. I kind of reserved the right to take myself out later, but I thought, well, I'm going to fully explore this and see where it goes. And it took me to right here. About 5 years ago, I started channeling the way Esther Hicks does. In fact, I used her basically as my role model. And by then I had been to probably 40, workshops of theirs, but you couldn't actually work with her directly, like on a personal, like I'm a classical trumpet player. That was my first
Oh,
career. Yeah. And so whenever
fascinating.
anybody could do something and I couldn't do it, I'd go and take a private lesson from them, pay them some money and take a private lesson. So that's what I wanted to do with Esther, but she doesn't take private clients. She doesn't take small group clients. So I had to go to these
Mm-hmm.
all over the world to go to these cruises and workshops and stuff and listen, of course, on YouTube, there's a bunch of information and reading a lot and meditating a lot. I finally figured out how to meditate. I had been trying that my whole life. Anyway, all of that leads me to about 5 years ago, and all of a sudden, really out of the blue, I started doing the same thing. And I've been helping people ever since. I love that I provide the thing that I couldn't find. It took me a lot longer. My
Mm-hmm.
awakening took a lot longer because I didn't have a role model, somebody that I could like sit right next to the way I used to with my old trumpet teachers, or talk to and ask questions and get feedback, like immediate, personal, customized feedback to
Mm-hmm.
me. So that became very important to me to be able to provide that for my clients. And so that's what I do.
And also
Wow.
possibly you were blocking it a little bit. You were blocking the
Sure.
awakening. It could have
Yeah,
come to you sooner, maybe.
absolutely.
Sometimes,
We're all blocking it. If we're not feeling
yeah.
it, we're blocking it. There is no
Yeah,
other way for it to be, right?
and sometimes grief blocks it too.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Of
And
course.
and
If
you
you're
you
if you're focused on lack, which grief is just a focus on lack, if you're focusing on lack, you cannot see abundance. You cannot receive abundance. You can't feel abundance. You're blocking it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
wow. Yeah, and also you mentioned your partner's friend. Well, it's always important to have friends around when you are
Yes,
experiencing loss. I know Cathy was around
absolutely.
when my husband passed on, and she really gave me a
Mm.
real boost and kept me going. And I hope I did the same for her. But anyway,
Yeah,
um,
we both have been through what you've been through.
yeah.
There's nothing
So
better
Yeah.
than great friends.
it's absolutely. So talk about the alignment circle. Tell us what it is and why you
Okay.
created it, and then talk about what it's like, what it feels like to be out of alignment.
Okay. Well, so starting with the alignment circle. So the first 4 years that I was doing this, receiving infinite intelligence, and by the way, my entity, or whatever you want to call it, of my infinite intelligence that I received, they're named Oprah. Not Oprah Winfrey, just Oprah, OPRA, just like Esther receives Abraham. And so when I started receiving them, I did it privately for about 4 years, just private sessions. I didn't think I wanted to do groups. I really enjoyed the intimacy of just one-on-one. And because, like I said, I had been looking for a private teacher, I wanted to be that person. Then my colleague, Gina Mallison, she wanted for us to do a co-founding group, and that was last year, middle of last year. We did that for several months. It went so well, I decided to go ahead and start my own group and called it the Alignment Circle. And we meet twice a week because momentum is one of the most important assets we can have. And if
Yeah.
you do something once a week, you're not likely to develop any momentum. Just like
Mm.
even on a daily basis, even if we wake up and then we meditate and then we're feeling really great and then we watch the news
Yeah,
or we get
right.
in, right, it just takes us right out. So we end up with this, what I call the seesaw effect: up down, up down, up down, up down. We don't actually go
Mm-hmm.
anywhere. So twice a week, 90 minutes, and so it's a big time commitment. And it's been just magnificent. The people get incredibly faster results even compared to private, unless the private is done kind of along the same basis. It's not that it's private versus group, although there are benefits to each one. But meeting twice a week has been really a big game changer. It helps people to really start to get the feel for it. In other words, when Oprah comes on board, everybody in the room can feel unconditional love. And if you think about it, as Americans, where do we go to feel unconditional love? There aren't too many places. If you believe
Mm-hmm.
if you're a Christian, you can kind of go to church and hopefully feel it there. If you're meditating, maybe you're feeling it there, but that's 15 minutes out of the whole day. And it's something that you're kind of experiencing in this kind of passive state. When you're talking
Animals
to
and
Oprah,
animals.
Well, exactly. That's why they're so great, right? People scroll the internet for hours just looking for that charge of innocence and joy that babies and animals
Mm-hmm.
have. But if you could feel that yourself anytime you want, that's hugely powerful. It's hugely transformative. And that's what Oprah does. Oprah gives everybody the tools, including me, more and more all the time, the tools to control our focus, to control our own thoughts, and therefore our vibrations, in other words, our feelings. And we can feel unconditional love. I can tap into unconditional love just like that. And so can my clients after a while. And it just takes a little practice. We're just remembering. I'm not actually teaching anybody anything. We're remembering because we were a baby at one point. When we came
Mm-hmm.
here, we knew unconditional love.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, we kind of lost touch with it. Most of us, not all of us maybe, but everybody I know
Mm-hmm.
lost touch with it at some point. And I certainly did. And so this is coming back to the core, back to center, back to who we really are. It's so
Mhm.
beautiful. It's very effective
Yeah. And when you're out of alignment, how do you know it?
because it feels bad.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I know that sounds simplistic, but that's exactly how Oprah shows people how to follow their own guidance. Everybody talks about intuition, like that uh-oh feeling. Everybody knows that feeling. It's in your gut, right? Well, when you're feeling guilty, when you're feeling ashamed, when you're feeling angry, when you're feeling afraid, it's in your gut. And you can tell by your gut how it feels, whether you're looking at things the way that source is looking at it, or align infinite intelligence, God, whatever you want to call it, that pure love, or if you're looking away, the further away you look from love, the worse it feels. And
Yeah.
so it's
Mm-hmm.
like living by braille, right? Except that it's inside ourselves. It's by the feelings. And the less we think and the more we feel, the better off we are. For
That's
sure.
Mm-hmm.
true.
Mm-hmm. And what are some specific roadblocks that we can watch out for when we're trying to achieve consistent alignment and joyful manifestations?
Well, anytime you catch yourself not feeling good, when as soon as you can come back to the breath, like in other words, it can be slight. It can be a little bit of a criticism or a complaint or, oh, do I have to do this again? Like that kind of a thing. Or it can be all the way out to, I'm going to go protest this horrible thing, or I feel like I want to die. If you're depressed and suicidal and all that, all of these lower vibrations, we can bring ourselves up out of by changing our focus. And it's one of the big things that Oprah reminds people. You can choose your focus, just like a photographer that has a camera. And if you look through that
Mhm.
lens, if you want to focus on that duck over there and there's a bunch of grass that you don't want included, you just zoom in a little bit and then you make sure it's real crystal clear and you take your picture. We
Oh, I
do the
love
same thing
that.
with our minds. I know, right? It's a great metaphor because
Mm-hmm.
everybody's tried to take a picture now that we all have phones with cameras in them. Everybody's tried to take
Yeah.
a really nice picture. Well, we do the same thing with our focus. And we learned early on how to start screening things from our focus, right? I mean, you think about autistic children, they are not able to screen overstimulation, right? But most of us do screen overstimulation or anything that we've seen a million times, we start to screen it out. So we're doing the same thing with our focus, whether we know it or not. When you get intentional and conscious about your focus and you give yourself permission to only focus on things that feel good, boom, miracles happen. I mean, you change your entire world just by focusing on what feels good. We call it Blisscipline, the commitment to only focus on that
Oh,
which feels good.
I love
Blisscipline,
that.
right? Right? Isn't that
Blisscipline. I
great?
love that.
Blisscipline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
I
that's
like
Yeah.
that
great.
very
I'm
much.
writing that down. Your
Now, some people
Blisscipline.
have trouble giving themselves permission to have Blisscipline because they feel like
True.
they have to focus on all of the negativity in order to either guard themselves or protect others or be informed, which is kind of protecting others. You feel like you have to be a good citizen and all that. But if you will focus only on that which feels good for just a little while, the feelings that will come and the inspiration that will come and eventually the abundance that will come, you will put yourself in a position to be able to help anybody you want. But it's just like the airlines say, put your own mask on first and then help the next person. Because if you're passed out, if I'm passed out, I can't help the person that I love that's sitting right next to me. So that's one of the things I teach is one rule, do whatever it takes to feel good. One skill, Learn to discern what actually feels good to you. There's the skill right there. And then one
Mm-hmm.
habit, allow things to unfold naturally. So we teach that a lot. And if you think that eating, a bunch of donuts or getting drunk or having pornography or going gambling or whatever the kind of the distractions that we use for ourselves, if you think that's what makes you feel good, then with a little bit of training, you'll start to be able to feel in your body, because we're always coming back to the body. It's never about lessons or preaching or teaching. It's about, how does it feel? How does it feel
Yeah.
right now in your body? How do you feel when you think about that? Which of these two options feel better? Not which one pays better or costs less or will impress everybody. Which one
Mm-hmm.
actually feels
Mm-hmm.
better? It doesn't take long, and miraculous things start happening in people's lives. They seem completely unrelated. Things that they've been wanting for years show up. Relationships heal miraculously. It's healing from the inside out, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you've kind of
Love that.
covered a question that I had in my mind, which is, what are the tools and the techniques or even the resources that people should use to overcome times when they're out of alignment? But also, what about you? What did you use exactly? You gave us a little hint, reading and learning about Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks. But talk about that a little bit more. And then can you share some more tools with our audience?
Absolutely.
Oh, and
Well,
also one other thing I wanted to ask you. What about if people are out of alignment who are with you and all the craziness that's going on around you? How do you deal with that?
I deal with myself only. I don't ever try to concern myself with anybody else. I can't control anybody else's thinking or feeling, what they're saying, what they're doing, completely out of my control. And as soon as I release that control, first of all, I immediately start feeling better. And then second of all, when I'm in alignment, ideas and emotions, inspiration comes to me in a way very different from when I'm out of alignment. So, if in alignment is up here and out of alignment is down here on the vibrational scale, it's almost like, 1, 2, 3, like a ladder scale, right? If I'm up here and somebody else is down there, first of all, I can have compassion and kindness and gentleness in a way that I can't if I'm matching them down here. If I'm down here,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to start fighting, right? Or we're going to argue, or we're going to agree to disagree and all stomp off, or whatever the thing is. And instead, if I stay aware of myself and follow my own guidance, my guidance will guide me through it. And so it's different every time. It's different for every person. It's different, for me today versus me tomorrow. But it's all about being present, being right here, right now. So the breathing can do that. Meditation can really help a lot. Appreciation is one of the most powerful tools you can use. Anybody can do it. You can start right now, look around and find something in your environment and say, and I love this glass of water. I love how beautiful the blue glass is. I love how cool it is to drink this water. I can feel it without even doing it. I can feel it just going down my throat. So cool and refreshing. As I practice that kind of appreciation, which we don't teach or practice or observe much in our society, right?
Right.
It will feel like a new skill. It's not, because look at how babies will laugh at just about anything, right? The one baby hiccups and the other baby laughs uproariously. Hilarious, right? We want to get back to that state as much as
Mm-hmm.
possible. And there are a million tools. For anybody who's in grief, this is one of my favorite tools. I call it the flicking technique. And I learned this from an Abraham Hicks lecture, where they talked about the fact that Jerry, Esther's late husband, had this favorite merino wool sweater. And they used to love to sit by the fireplace, and they would have this special firewood that would snap, crackle, and pop, and, very dramatic firewood. And I don't know what kind of firewood that is. I should get some. But anyway, so if it would pop an ember out, what they would find was that if it landed on his sweater, and he just flicked it off, it wouldn't leave a mark. Even after a few seconds, if he noticed it and this, there's and he took his time, and just flicked it off, it would go from red to black and just fall onto the ground. But if he didn't flick it off, because see, wool doesn't really burn, but if you leave it on there long enough, burning red, glowing red, it would eventually make a mark. It would start to burn just a little bit of a hole. It wouldn't burst into flames, but make this this indentation, black mark. And so I decided that it's just like that for grief. Every time I would feel a wave of grief, and I had severe grief symptoms. Okay. I knocked out, like I would literally find myself on the floor sobbing, couldn't get up. Like really, I mean, I was really carrying on quite a bit. So I decided, okay, every time I feel that coming, I'll just flick that grief away and just watch it go like that. Go from bright red, burning ember, bright red, to benign, completely benign, black, won't hurt anybody, not hot. And so I would do that sometimes over and over and over, but I would actually do this flicking. I've taught this to a lot of clients, and so, some of my clients have done some very creative things with this exercise. I'll tell you my favorite one. One woman came in the next time and said, I've done the flicking technique. It works magic. It's magical. It works beautifully. What I see is I'm flicking my husband's head, and he goes rolling off down the hallway with a look on his face, like on his face. So she was literally taking some anger that she had. You know, he was being kind of brutal with her, to be frank. And so she was taking an experience that was otherwise overwhelming, just like my grief, and turning it into something else, without hurting anybody. And so I've had a lot of clients really respond very well to that particular technique. It works better for really strong, sudden waves of out of alignment than it does for, oh, I'm just feeling bored today. It's hard to flick boredom to the curb, but it's easy to flick grief and anger.
I know somebody, a close friend who needs that. I'm going to teach her that technique today.
Beautiful.
I think we all need that at times.
Yeah. I think that's a really good technique.
Yeah, it's a
Can
wonderful
you tell us
technique.
a little bit about how you feel about the law of attraction? Because I know there are some myths that people believe about it. Can you dispel some of that, or tell us what your views on that?
Absolutely. You know, the law of attraction, from my perspective, is just a description of what is. It's not like some theory, you know, like I use the law of attraction. It's kind of like the law of gravity. We don't use the law of gravity. It just is. And so many of the misconceptions come from people teaching a lot of different ways that it's taught, I think, is part of the problem. And so when people talk about just envision what you want and it'll come to you, well, that leaves out like the whole story. I mean, it's technically true, but it leaves out the essence of it. The essence is when you feel, and this always comes back to feeling. That's why think less, thrive more. It's like my little byline, right? So think less, meaning come back into the moment, and you might take a couple of breaths to do this, because once you're focusing on, as I feel the sensation of air going in my nostrils, and I can feel it coming across my lips as I exhale. When I focus on that breath, I'm focusing on my body. Now I'm right here, right now. I'm not worried about the future. I'm not regretting the past. I'm right here, right now. And once I'm right here, right now anything is possible. Now I can feel my guidance, which I have to be able to love my body, to feel my body, first of all. So we women, we have a tendency to just cut it off right here and stop noticing anything below the neck. And so there's sometimes there's some effort in this to get back into the body in a way that feels really comfortable. But once you do that, you can feel your guidance. Your guidance will tell you exactly how to get one step at a time, not 10 steps. It's never a linear, path like boom, 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 boom. One step, take one step, do one small thing, and that will take you closer to whatever you want. As you feel that guidance and you follow it, you become your desire and you match it. Now you feel great because whatever you wanted because it would feel good, right? If it's $1 million, you thought you were going to feel safe, right? If it's a car, you thought you were going to feel, pretty cool. If it's a house, you're going to feel secure, right? Or whatever it is you want, those feelings that you want, you can have them right now. Now, when you've matched it, it can come to you. And that's that law of attraction part. It's like two magnets, right? If you turn a magnet, you remember the old horseshoe magnets? Probably dating myself here, but I haven't seen a horseshoe magnet in a long time. But if you have another horseshoe magnet and they go like that, right? But if you turn this other one this way and try, they go.
Yeah, you can't put them together.
Right.
You
That's
can't put them
right.
together, right? That's the way vibration is. If I'm vibrating high, I can match anything I want. If I'm vibrating low, sometimes I can't even see or hear or smell the thing that I want because I'm too far away from it. So the vibrational part, the emotional part, the physical guidance part is missing from this thing that says just visualize what you want and you can get it. You actually have to match the thing you want. And then you actually have to be open to it showing up this or something better. If you get too specific, you're building all these roadblocks. So it has to be in this neighborhood. If you're looking for a house, let's say it has to have a door that's shaped like this, and it has to have a sidewalk that doesn't go straight, and whatever the thing is, you're building a bunch of roadblocks. If you say, oh, I love the idea of a new house. I want it to be spacious and open. I want high ceilings. I want a beautiful view. I want beautiful floors. I want comfortable furniture. I love this new house. I love this new house. I love this new house. Now, this house is on its way to me, unless I go watch the news and go join a protest and start
Yeah.
writing how horrible everything is and have a fight with my spouse. If I can maintain that vibration, then all of that stuff, whatever I want, can start to come to me. And that's the essence of the law of attraction that I think a lot of people miss.
I
I
love
get
that.
it. I get it.
And that's more specific than anything I've ever heard, and that is not a roadblock. So
Yeah.
talk about something that you wish you'd known before you had this awakening.
I wish I had known. So the first thing that I heard Abraham say in this very early in this, in the first couple of days after me getting exposed to this material was that we came here eagerly. I burst into tears. I cried for an hour. I sobbed like a baby. I came here eagerly. I'd spent 55 years trying to prove myself. I didn't even know who I was trying to prove it to. Not my parents, they didn't care anymore. To who? Who was I trying to prove it to? I came here eagerly. Wait a minute. The purpose of life is joy. Wait a minute. Wait. That was how I reacted to all that. It was like, you've got to be kidding me. I've been focused on the wrong thing for 55 years. 55 years.
Some people longer.
Way longer. Yeah.
Some people shorter.
That's
Some people
true.
way shorter. I've
Way
got young
shorter.
clients coming in now. People in their 30s are starting to really figure this stuff out early, way early. It's so lovely. It's
Oh,
magnificent.
that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
There's hope
Yeah.
for our
Yes.
millennials and our younger people.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are catching on a lot faster than I did.
Yeah. Well, you work with spiritual guides for yourself and for others. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Are there other guides that come through you besides Oprah? Or is it always the same feeling or what? How do you do that?
It's always a little bit different. And Oprah considers themselves a plural, like I call them they rather than him or her. Very similar to Esther's Abraham is considered a plural. Of course, they joke about it because Abraham's a man's name, and so people that don't know anything about Esther and Abraham show up, and there's a woman on the stage being called Abraham, and her husband was he's passed away now, but he was very, very active, and so there's a man introducing a woman, and his wife's name is Abraham, and it's very confusing. So at least I don't have that part, but it is. So the concept is that it's whatever that is being summoned at the time answers the summoning. And so if one of you had a question, let's say your question was about money, and then Oprah would answer the question, and they would actually be whoever needed to be there in order to, or whoever wanted to be there to answer your question. But then, Cathy, if you asked a question and your question was about love, about romance, let's say, then Oprah would answer that question, but different. Oprah's makeup, to the best of my ability to understand, because they're not physical, so there's no real makeup, but the essence of Oprah would be different, answering your question versus Mary's question. So it's the summoning. In other words, we humans, we specialize in asking, in wanting, in desiring, in craving. Like, please, I want more. Even if I've got everything in the whole world, I still want more. And especially if I'm starving to death, I want food. Very, very strong summoning. And that's the power. We don't know our own power. Our desires are the most powerful force in the universe. They're divine, they're pure love, and they fuel the expansion of the universe. And so when we start to really allow our desires to say, wow, I don't have to be afraid of my desires. Are you kidding me? I can trust my desires? Really? And you're saying I can actually have my desires? Are you kidding me? This is a game changer. That's the power. And so the summoning of whoever's asking the question determines what comes out of me through Oprah, or how Oprah comes through me, however you want to say that.
Do you
Oh,
prepare to summon her or they,
Yes.
them? I mean, how do you prepare?
Well, I take a couple of deep breaths. I come right back into the here and the now. And then I relax into the knowledge that they're coming. And the first time I did it, it was two really good friends of mine, Bob and Flora. And they knew that I had told them the previous weekend that I was going to be doing it, but I didn't know how or what. It was a sudden knowing that came upon me. And so when I saw them the next weekend, Flora especially was saying, will you do it for us? Because they'd been going to listen to Esther Hicks and Abraham for years. That's how I met them. And so I said, sure, yeah. And then I was spending the weekend. So that was Friday night. And then Saturday morning, she said, will you do it for us? I was like, oh, yeah. But we had a chainsaw party planned for the day. It's a long story, but we had a lot of fun.
yeah.
and so,
I don't know
Yeah.
what a chainsaw party
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
well, we made it
exactly.
up. It was a lot of fun. So anyway,
Okay.
after the chainsaw party, all the men with the big chainsaws had gone home, and we had, gotten dressed and, showered and whatnot. And then we had this lovely dinner that Flora had prepared. And then she said, how about now? Would you like to do it for us now? And I was like, really now? And she said, yeah. So I said, okay. So we sat down in the living room and I closed my eyes. And basically the first time all I did was just imitate Esther Hicks. I mean, I'd been to 4-day workshops, so I knew exactly what it looked like on the outside. And I knew how to be present from actually studying all that material for 5 years. I knew how to come
Hmm.
into myself and be present. So I just combined those two. And suddenly I knew things that I had no way of knowing. Suddenly I saw things, just normal things, with a perspective that I had never had before. It was enough for me to say, wow, there's actually something to this. So the first thing I did was write to all my friends, all my Abraham friends, and say, hey, I'm going to be doing this. Anybody want a session? And a certain percentage of the people said, yeah, me. So then I just started it. And that's all it takes. Anybody can do this.
That's what I was
Anybody
going to
can do
ask
this.
you. Anybody can anyone do it? And would it be they would find a different guide or
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So Esther's guide is named Abraham. They gave her that name. My guide is named Oprah. They gave me that name. But some people go and find out their guide and then they name it. They just decide what the name's going to be. But I think even when they do that, they're really getting it from their guide. But some people say they have millions of guides and angels and different, to me, Oprah is my inner being. Everybody has an inner being. It's our, so we're here in the physical and then we're also here in the non-physical, both. When we're in human form on
Hmm.
the physical plane, we're both. We are God and we are human, both. And so whatever that is, you can think of it any way you want. You can put any color or any texture or shape to it. You can put any name to it. You can put anything you want to it. It's pure love. It can't hurt you. It will never hurt anyone. And get your human side out of the way. That's the thing that I practiced the most, especially in the beginning, was just how to get my human side off to the side and let Oprah just come through as purely as I possibly can. And, I've had enough practice now that I just do it without thinking.
yeah.
But yeah, that's how it
Yeah.
works.
We were talking about loss earlier, and I know that one of the greatest obstacles to moving forward after loss is resistance to change. So, talk a little bit about resistance and how we can release it and move on.
Absolutely. I love that question. Thank you. So resistance to change or to anything else is just resistance. And so as soon as you feel resistance, it doesn't matter what the cause is. When you say, okay, and we're not talking, I'm going to be really clear. I'm not talking about resisting the resistance. I'm not talking about suppressing it. I'm not even talking about ignoring it. You can go, oh, there's that thing over there. I'm not going to, oh boy, I don't want to look at that, right? It's not that. You look it right in the eye and you say, hi there. You're okay. I see you. I feel you. Oh, look, squirrel. and I just distract myself. Seriously, this sounds really simplistic, okay? When you start practicing this, this is very powerful. Just look right at it and accept it for what it is. Don't be afraid that by your approval, you're going to make it get bigger. It's actually by your resistance that you make it get bigger. When you look right at it and you say, okay, I see you. All right, thank you. Oh, and pick something to appreciate, even, or just distract. You don't even have to find something to, glass of water, long hot shower, kids running through the hallway. Doesn't matter. Focus on something else. You do that consistently without feeding it any, because no feeds it. The word no feeds it.
Yeah.
It's attention to it. And so when you shout no at something, you're basically putting fuel on the fire. And so as soon as you say, okay, I got it. Oh, just like that. It's just that easy. It takes some practice, but it is easy. It's simple and easy. Takes some practice because we've practiced the other way so long. That's the only reason it takes practice. Kids do this all the time. Try lecturing a kid about something.
You're right.
They're going to try to look at anything but you because they know better. It's us who don't know better. So take a page out of the kids' books and stop belaboring anything that doesn't feel good.
You're right.
We grow older and we forget all that wonderful, youthful energy and innocence, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So how do you do that with loss, particularly? Like if you're having resistance to change and you've just lost somebody big in your life because you went through that. So how do you look at that and accept it and then say squirrel? You're talking
Find
about that
something
with
to
loss?
appreciate. Absolutely. It doesn't matter what the resistance is. So loss, think about the word loss. I've lost something. So that is a definite looking at the lack of something. So every subject is two subjects, right? The thing and the absence of the thing. Whatever it is, whether it's love or it's an apple, right? Either I'm got an apple or where'd my apple go? I don't know. I lost it, right? So when you look at anything as loss, you're not actually looking at the thing that you want. You want, so let's say you've lost, a loved one has passed away. You want love. You want the unconditional love that you felt from that person, at least at times, right? I mean, we're all flawed, but sometimes the best of us can produce unconditional love to a certain extent. And so when you're used to having companionship, consistency, support, encouragement, all of these things, and then now you think it's gone, well, that's going to hurt like all get out. Right?
Yeah.
But if you start looking at remembering the beautiful times and also opening to the fact that your loved one is still here, and if you can get your vibration high enough, you can actually commune with them. You can actually feel their energy. You can actually have inner exchanges with them. It's not like talking, but it's actually much more powerful, much more satisfying to connect. Like I connect with Betty on a regular basis. Betty's a part of Oprah. I can feel the energy there. When I look at her picture and I remember just incredible times, I usually remember exactly, what was happening around the time of the picture. And then also every other time that we had glorious 24 years. And so it's really, we've trained ourselves to look at loss. We have not trained ourselves to look at presence. And when you switch that training, you start reversing that training, everything opens up. It's like everything is like Technicolor, like Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz, who walks out of he says, wow, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore because this is Technicolor. It's just like that. Seriously, it is just like that.
Yeah, let's hear a little bit about your book. Thank you for that
Okay.
explanation, by the way. I should have said that first. Really good explanation of that.
Thank you.
But tell us about your book. It's called From Lonely to Fearless.
Yes.
Tell us who it's for and why you wrote it.
I wrote it because I had gone on a photo safari last year. It was gifted to me very last minute. Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. It was so amazing. And I knew I was going to be off grid for at least 4 weeks, like totally off grid. Like we don't really think of ourselves, like we think if we're, in a little bit of a low spot of signal, we're off grid. No, this was off grid for 4 weeks. And so I knew when I came back, I made this intention very, very clearly. I even told some people about it. I said, okay, when I come back, all of the bits of my life are going to be laying around like they're at a garage sale, right? They're going to be on tables, they're going to be on the grass, they're going to be, on bookshelves that they've pulled out of the house, all kinds of stuff everywhere.
Oh,
And I'm going to go through this garage sale or yard sale and pick up only those things that I really like and leave everything else. And this way
Marie
I didn't have to.
Kondo.
Yes, exactly. I love Marie Kondo. I've used Marie Kondo for years now, ever since she first came out. I love all of that. So anything in my life that sparks joy is the way she would say it, right? Anything that
mhm.
sparks joy, I would pick back up again. And anything that didn't spark joy, I would just leave it there. I didn't have to let it go. I didn't have to release it. I don't have to, pare away at it. I didn't have to kick it to the curb. I just didn't pick it back up again. So that's what I
Mhm.
did. When I came back, it's exactly what I did. Well,
Wow.
guess what? I picked up so little, there was a huge vacuum. And what
Mm.
came into that vacuum was the book. It
Ah.
poured into me and it poured out of me. I was staying with a friend at the time, and she came by and she was like, "Ramona, what are you doing? You haven't come out yet." And I was like, because I was in, her guest room. I was like, "I'm writing a book," typing. She's like, "You're writing a book?" She said, "I didn't know you were going." I was like, "I can't talk now. I'm writing a book." So it just poured out of me. And
Wow.
who I wrote it for is everybody who's ever felt down at all, because lonely is kind of like a placeholder. So lonely is kind of like, how a lot of times we think we're hungry but we're actually bored, or we're tired, or we're thirsty, or upset. And
Mhm.
I think I'm hungry, right? So lonely is kind of, I'm lonely, I'm lonely. I wish I could. I'm lonely. I don't even know exactly what would help, because I can't think of anybody that would help, but I'm lonely. And so loneliness is a disconnection with ourselves.
Mm.
Grief is a disconnection with ourselves. Anger is a disconnection with ourselves. Afraid is a disconnection with ourselves. It's all disconnection. And so I take from the place of lonely and I kind of dispel some of the myths about loneliness. Oh, all you got to do is go out and meet some people, join a club, join the church, volunteer, all these action based solutions for an internal vibrational issue. So I teach how to go, just like what we've been talking about, how to go inside and reconnect with self. It means not caring what anybody else thinks. It means getting back into our bodies. It means really learning to love ourselves again the way we did when we were babies. I mean, think about a baby. You pinch a baby, they're going to scream and say, "Stop that." What do we do when somebody either literally or figuratively pinches us? We worry about, I don't want to overreact because what will people think? Or, we think consequences. We think everything except for how we actually feel right now. And so that's who the book is for anybody who's feeling disconnected in any way, shape, or form. I've got something like 41 case studies in there of clients that I've worked with, and how their case study kind of fits in with that particular chapter, and including some of myself. I give a lot of examples from my own life, and lots of actionable tips on how to feel better,
Mm.
about yourself, but also just how to feel better. You
I
do any
love
of
that.
Mhm.
those, yeah,
I,
you can start feeling better right now, would be my message. Right
it
now.
it sounds like you wrote it really quickly too.
Yes. I wrote it in about 4 days.
Oh my
The
God.
the draft, okay, I did a lot of revisions, and then I got a lot of really great editing feedback, and it changed quite a bit. But yeah, the initial lump part of it emerged in 4 days, or it emerged immediately. I would say it took me 4 days to actually get it onto paper, as they say. It was into the computer.
Wow,
Yeah.
our other authors are going to be so envious of that.
Oh yeah. Well, some authors
Including
do it,
Mary.
right?
Including Mary.
Well, yeah. Oh well. so, so
Well, I've almost written other books. I almost wrote a book called How I Finally Learned to Love My Mother. I almost wrote a book. What was the name of that one going to be? It was going to be out in. I've considered and wanted to, and actually started several books earlier in my life. I never, ever, ever would have considered myself an author until the day I started writing this book.
I
So
love that. So
the
tell me
late to the
Oh,
something.
party.
I'm curious about you and the people that you feel are very more advanced in their spiritual journey. What would you say some of your challenges are?
I think the biggest challenge, anybody who's been working on their spiritual or their spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call that, for a while, personal development, you might call it even.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest challenge we face is that the initial skills and habits that we adopt, that we learn, at a workshop or reading a book or whatever, and we adopt it and we implement it and things get better, but then they stop working. Right there, let's say the advanced student stage, which we're all students, right? But some of us are beginner
Mm-hmm.
students and some of us are advanced students. So the
Mm-hmm.
advanced student phase, I feel like I'm backsliding. I feel like I've got this glass ceiling and I just can't get any further. I'm forgetting everything I've learned. What's wrong with me? That's the number one question that my clients come in asking. What's wrong with me? And I think that we, as humans, especially as women, we tend to say, that didn't go well. What's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? Whatever it is, the house fell
And
down, the
that's
house
not the
fell,
right and that's not the right question, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all. How can
So
I
what should
feel
we
better?
what should we be asking?
How can I feel better? There's a whole set of advanced skills, and frequently they're just a tweak on the original skill. Meditation, for example. Meditation's fantastic. Meditation's how Esther got going. It certainly helped me a lot. I couldn't figure out how. I tried quite a bit before this, spiritual awakening that happened for me. But after that, one of the things that Lordella told me to do was go get their book called Getting into the Vortex, which I don't know if it still does, but in the 10 years ago, it had a CD in the back. Now it's probably just a download. You go somewhere to get it. But it had a
Yeah.
CD in the back, and I started playing it. It's guided meditations, and with this off-kilter breathing thing that kind of keeps you focused on your body instead of letting your brain just go off into anywhere the way it does, And
Mm-hmm.
so with that little bit of priming the pump, then I was able to start figuring out different ways for me to meditate on my own. And I started suddenly beginning very satisfying meditations. And so that's just one example, right? But just meditation, if you don't develop the momentum of your meditation, like I was saying before, if you meditate and
Yeah.
then have a big fight with somebody, or go to work and your boss is berating you and you're fighting back, and all this conflict and drama and stuff, you've erased the momentum that you started from meditating. So the momentum is probably one of the biggest. So when you first start to focus on anything positive, you start expressing any level of appreciation, you start doing any kind of meditation, you're going to start feeling better right away, because everything
Mm-hmm.
was so negative before, right? But that only takes you so far. And then once you've hit that, what feels like a plateau, or however you would describe that, some people just say, I'm in a lot of people would come to me first, they say, I'm just frustrated because I've been doing this and this and this and everything's going better, but I still don't have boom, 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 boom. They have a big long list of things that they haven't
Mm-hmm.
gotten yet, or things that they want even better. And I'm meditating every day. I'm meditating twice a day. I'm meditating 3 times a day, but I'm not getting anywhere. And so the momentum is a big key. So, and there are quite a few things like that just they're little tweaks or additions to the original set of skills that take you up to that next level, and to the next level, and to the next level.
I
Yeah.
like that.
And so what would you like our audience to have as a takeaway today?
Start now. Start now. Don't
Okay.
wait. Don't think that you have to have some sort of a special purchase, or a special kind of haircut, or a special, body shape, or people in your life, or money in the bank. Start now. You could be homeless on the street with nothing, and you could start right now to start to take the deep breath and get into your body and feel into your desires and feel the truth of who you really are, and you will immediately start to feel better. Start appreciating, look for anything around you to appreciate, even if it's just, I'm glad it's not raining today because I'm homeless, right? I'm glad it's not cold. I'm glad the weather is good right now. Whatever it is, I'm glad I have a shirt. I'm glad I have a pair of shoes. Whatever it is, I love this shirt. I love this shirt. It covers me. It keeps me warm. I love that I can tell that lots of other people have worn it before me. It's been a well-loved shirt. And I love the fact that I have it. Just whatever you can do right now to appreciate what's in your life and keep it up. Start now and keep it up, and be amazed at the miracles starting inside. Starts inside first with your feelings about yourself and feelings about life. And then you'll start feeling better about other people. And then you'll start to see more outward outcomes. But start now, start inside. Don't look for anybody to save you. Just start right now.
I love that. And I think I've already started. I'm sure Cathy
Yay!
has too. And I'm going to take a deep breath and appreciate you. Thank you, Ramona. You're wonderful.
Thank you, Mary. Thank
Our
you.
guest on Late Boomers has been Ramona Galey, award-winning author, personal coach, vibrational mentor, channel, and guide to help us all live a real, true, purpose-driven life. Thank you. And you can reach Ramona through her website, ramonagaley.com. That's RAMONAGALEY.com. And go into her website, find the private button, press it, and you might get a coupon for her training. And also you might get a free talk with Ramona.
A free call.
Thank you.
Yeah. I want that free
Yeah.
call too. I'm going
Me
to check
too.
it out. We want
Come
to thank
on.
our listeners for subscribing to our podcast and checking us out on YouTube and recommending us to your friends. We appreciate you, and we'd love to have you give us a 5-star review. And we want to hear about your experiences with late boomers and what gets you inspired. We are on Instagram at I am Cathy Worthington and at I am Mary Elkins and at Late Boomers. Thank you for listening. And be sure to listen next week to our Late Boomers podcast when we feature Kay Oliver, who worked in Hollywood for 30 years and then became an award-winning author. And thank you again to Ramona Galey for today's lessons
Thank you
well
both.
learned.
Thank you both so
Absolutely.
much. Wonderful questions, wonderful energy, wonderful conversation. It was a real delight. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us on Late Boomers, the podcast that is your guide to creating a third act with style, power, and impact. Please visit our website and get in touch with us at lateboomers.biz. If you would like to listen to or download other episodes of Late Boomers, go to ewnpodcastnetwork.com.
This podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and most other major podcast sites. We hope you make use of the wisdom you've gained here and that you enjoy a successful third act with your own style, power, and impact.